live.
I love the countdown from 5.
I know. I like the on-air sign. I like everything about Restream.
I know. It
Even the
really has
little
been such a
logo.
Yep.
There we go, right there.
Oh, I can if I click, it's got like an X on it, but if I click on it, it says upgrade now. I don't hate it.
I
Kind of love
don't.
it.
I
Yep.
don't.
We made
I
it.
I just finished reading an article on how Disney is a pricing genius.
Who is? Sorry.
Disney, Walt Disney
yeah.
World,
Mhm.
and all the strategies that they use. Like, I mean, I was thinking because we've recorded a couple of videos on pricing, and it's something that actually I was just talking to my son about last night. And they're talking about all the things that Disney does. So basically, they sell you you can buy a 2-day ticket, a 3-day ticket, or a 4-day ticket, and it's cheaper the more days you add.
Oh, yeah.
Because you spend the money in the park.
Yeah.
And dynamic pricing on the lightning lanes.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that I thought was interesting that I forgot about was that you can have the Magic Band.
Oh, yeah.
And you can pay with the Magic Band, but you have to buy the Magic Band. So you pay for the convenience of paying.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. So and once, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing why people I'm not saying everybody, but like how credit cards can be a factor in people getting into debt because it's just so easy to swipe and spend.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you think it's easy to swipe, try banding thing like insane. I remember a couple years because it's also your room key.
Right.
Right. So I remember a couple years ago, I went with my kids. I mean, it was actually a while because they were pretty young. And they were like, you can add charging privileges to your kids' Magic Bands.
You're like, hard pass. No way.
I was like, no, I don't want to become bankrupt in 3.5 days.
Can you imagine?
I know. But even from like giving kids under 3 free eating, like at the buffets, and everyone's like, but like your 3-year-old doesn't, have you taken a 3-year-old to the buffet and they've had anything but 2 French fries and a chicken nugget?
Correct. Yeah.
Like, but you're going to pay $65 for a waffle and be totally fine with that. So anyway, all their branding and marketing, and it's pretty genius. But their biggest thing was like, it's like the opposite of the strategy that like I personally follow, which is like I charge you a decent amount up front, but then I don't nickel and dime you. But like Disney is getting rich off the nickel and diming, right?
Yeah.
But you're giving people such a great experience. Most of them don't care.
Yeah.
So it's that whole like balance between, anyway.
Yeah. I saw a meme the other day and it was like, adult money is so funny. I'm mad about the price of gas, but then I booked myself a ticket to Vegas.
So true.
It's like, oh yeah, the things that I don't want to pay for. I'm like, that's annoying that it's so expensive. But then the trips and stuff, it's like, I mean, flight prices are getting a little bit higher, but whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking with you guys last week about the price of beef.
Yes.
Being so insanely expensive. So
yeah.
So that's adult money for you.
It is. I thought that was really funny. Sorry.
So, but I think there's something to be learned about Disney with the nickel, and they do a great job of nickel and diming people, and they don't care, and they don't
feel like they're being nickel and dimed.
Yeah. So how do you give people that experience? I'm not sure. Like it's hard to, Disney's a hard one to compare it to, right?
Right.
Because then it's the opposite of like an all-inclusive, right? When you go to an all-inclusive resort, you pay and then it's all included.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but
all inclusive for me because I don't want to think about it. I just want to go.
Right. But there's something, it's like, we were talking about this weekend because we were driving by the Fort Lauderdale cruise port, and it's like why people love cruises is because generally speaking, you pay the price and there's not a lot of surprises.
Yeah.
Especially if you have children and you don't have to say no to them. You want to go get another ice cream cone. You want to go hit the buffet again. Who cares? It's already paid for. So how does that transfer into selling services or products? Which is why sometimes that bulk packaging works.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not gonna, because I think too, when you start charging people like per piece or per item, especially in service-based, people get very price sensitive.
Yep.
Where if you can wrap it into a bundle, it's really helpful.
I think too, there's something to be said. I mean, obviously if you're selling like high ticket items,
right.
And you're not trying to necessarily scale this particular piece of it. But I read a book a long time ago, and it was like Negotiation Boot Camp by, I think that author's name was Ed Browdow. And one of the things that I like walked away with that and like internalized and has changed my life and the way I approach negotiations and sales is it, like, I can't remember if it was a study or just an example he gave, but he was like, when you're on a sales call, he was like, it's proven that people feel more confident and close at a higher rate if you spend the most time listening. And I do think from like a relational standpoint and when you're trying to do right. So like if somebody feels like they can deeply trust both your expertise, but almost more importantly, you, those are the like, because I feel like that's kind of like what Disney has built, right? They have a very trusted brand.
Right.
People know what they're getting, or they have an expectation around it. And so if they're like, oh, I'm going to scan my bracelet, they know what comes next, right? Because Disney's reputation is that they deliver. And I think that's the same, right? It's like building that relationship with people who are currently customers or people who will be customers, so that when you say, hey, that next service is an additional X, they're like, oh yeah, no, of course we have to pay for that because you've already shown results, you've built the trust and all of those things, right? And they're like, swipe my bracelet.
Yes. Yes. Without thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we just got back, you and I, from Seller Summit.
We did.
Still in recovery mode.
Yeah. The bags are from, it's crazy. This year, like, I feel like I slept really well every night. I did not stay. There was not a night that I stayed out past 11 p.m., even the closing night, like, because we had a flight the next day and everything else, and we had to hit the ground running with kid stuff when we got back. And I still am like, wiped just so much. I mean, you learn so much, you do so much in way of like networking, and then it's like you get back and you're like, oh, okay, now to implement.
So I think that's a part of it, because I was thinking about that too. I didn't sleep as much, but I never do. That's that's normal. I didn't stay out late. I'm up super early, and
yes.
In fact, on Friday morning, my Aura ring was like, "You have a sleep deficit of 7 hours and 30 minutes." I was like, "Well, I'm not making that up today."
I'll get back to that later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aura, for making me feel terrible about myself. I think too, when you work at home or in a space where there's not a lot of people, right?
Yep.
That going and being around people for like 12 hours a day, for 3.5 days, it doesn't matter if you get a lot of sleep. Like, it's just like most of us, we don't have that level of social battery.
Correct.
And so it's like, no matter what, even if you're disciplined and, even you're doing things that, like, you're probably not out every night talking to people drinking. Maybe some people are, but like, that's not my normal life.
Yeah.
And I didn't even like, it wasn't even drinking a lot. It's just like the continued day after day of this behavior for several days in a row is just like, so yeah, I think it's such an interesting, I wonder if people who like, because while we were there were other events happening, right? A couple of them were like corporate. These people clearly work in an office because they were all dressed like they worked in an office.
Correct. Yes.
Meanwhile, we've got people in cargo shorts and whatever, which we love. Like,
yeah.
how much you are, it is Fort Lauderdale. But yeah, I wonder if they feel the same way because they actually do spend their days yapping to people.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. I do imagine that it's probably a different emotional weight for people who work in an office, but also like it probably still has like a little bit more in way of exhaustion because networking does take a little bit more from you personally, whereas like sales calls are pretty wash, rinse, and repeat at some level, or marketing or whatever their office spot is.
Yeah. So anyway, but I had a great time at the event. I got so like AI inspired, however we want to clone a little term for that. Yeah, so actually the first thing I did
on
the drive home, actually, I was not driving just for
Of course. Sure.
safety reasons. This
Sure.
is going out to the public. Don't come at me. The first thing I did was so you and I both gave talks
Yep.
at the event. I gave the closing keynote, which was actually I apologize to all keynote speakers that were there, who had done keynotes in the past because that is a hard talk to do.
Yep.
Teaching something, getting on stage is hard. I do not want to like minimize that for anybody because getting on stage in front of a lot of people is difficult. I did get a piece of advice, which I shared with you earlier from our friend Dana, who told me that everyone in the audience is cheering for you because no one wants to sit through a bad talk.
Yeah.
Which is
100%.
so true because I have sat through 1 or 2 really bad talks
Yeah.
and not like I've sat through a couple bad talks where the person was just a jerk and I didn't wanna listen to them, but I've sat through 1 or 2 talks where the person just really struggled, and
Yeah.
it's really hard. Like, you are rooting for them to turn it
Yes.
around. So, I was like that just hit me, and I was like, "You're right. Everyone in that audience is cheering me on. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to be." I mean, you're still nervous because you wanna do a good job, but it's a different type of nervous.
Yep.
So I gave the talk. We had a little glitch, but it was fine.
It went great.
It went great. It worked out. Um, but I was like, I think this talk would make an interesting, like, short book.
Yes.
Kind of like, Unf Yourself. I think that's
Yes.
the book.
Yep.
Because it's like that book's like 120 pages. It's pretty simple, but I mean, that book's got 1,000,000 reviews. Like, people love it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's similar in style to a book like that, right? It's not a 300 page. This is going to like
Yeah.
it's not Untamed, right? Where like
Also, before you jump in, you
Yes.
could make it one of those by spending 3 chapters talking about what you're going to tell them and what the and then spend 1 chapter telling them what you're going to tell them, and then spend 3 more chapters explaining why what you told them I mean, that's how you get a
Okay.
7
Yeah,
chapter.
yeah. Why didn't I think of that? That's dumb. I should be doing that.
Pet peeve.
So anyway, my talk had three components. And so what I did was I had written the whole talk out, right? So there was a whole like I also have the video and the transcript of my talk, which I will be using in this process. So I was like,
Yes.
you know what? We learned a lot about AI. We learned a lot about what we can do. Prompting is key,
Yeah.
right? Which is,
Yes.
we'll be saying that for probably the
Ever.
next several years.
Yep.
So I uploaded my talk into Claude. I
Right.
said, I would like to turn this into a book. I would like it to have 3 main sections based on the 3 sections of my talk. I would like the book to be about 150 pages because that's what I feel like that's the type of book it feels like.
Yeah.
I also don't like want to write a book to be famous or anything like that. I just think like it's something that I in my life have been like working towards. And I
Yeah.
thought, if a couple people read this and are like, hey, this is helpful,
Mhm.
mission accomplished. And then I told Claude, I said, I need an outline based on, and now here's the important part. I wrote the talk,
Right.
right? So I'm not asking Claude to write me a book that I didn't already write.
Right.
I'm asking Claude to help me outline a book so that I can finish writing it, right? Because I
Right.
think that's where people get stuck. They
Mhm.
have an idea, they can't move they have like steps 1 and 2, can't get 3, got 4, can't get 1, but have 2, 3, 4, can't
Right.
have 1, don't have 2, whatever.
Yep.
So I uploaded my talk, uploaded everything, and then I said I also would like to add more personal stories, like I'd like to add in a little more of that, and I would also
Yes.
like to add in some research.
Oh, nice.
Right? Because some of the talk that I gave was based on some research. I just didn't obviously in like a 25-minute keynote,
No,
you
yeah.
don't have time to like quote a bunch of studies.
Yeah.
So please provide references if any, through that. It gave me a 14 chapter outline.
Dang.
It gave like there was an intro, like 3 small and then it basically said, okay, chapters 4, 5, 7, and 9 are basically fully written from your talk. Right?
Nice. Yeah.
Chapter 2 needs X, chapter 3 needs this, right?
Mhm.
And so it created an entire outline it gave me the chapters, it gave me titles. I will
Yeah.
obviously switch those, but like
Yeah.
all based on my talk.
Yeah.
Then it told me how to write it. So it said, since chapters 3 and 7 are basically fully written, let's do those first, right?
Yeah.
Quick win. So then let's work on this because this chapter will impact this chapter. So
Mhm.
basically, this entire like plan to turn the talk into a book.
Yep.
that will still require a lot of work on my part.
Sure.
My thought is, if I can spend an hour a week doing this, I can probably get it done in a couple of months.
Yep.
Um, and then, yeah, I'll just put it on Kindle, KDP. And,
All
but
right. What's your
the
publish date?
I know. I would like to have it by September 1st.
Okay, September 1st.
September 1st, guys, gotta hold me to it.
Writing it down. This is
Yes,
accountability.
this is
9,
accountability.
1.
But I will tell you guys, most of you guys have something that you've already written or
Yeah.
created that you can turn into something like this.
Yep.
Maybe it's something you wrote you wanna turn into a talk,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Maybe, it doesn't have to be one way or the other. So the other thing I did was I was like, "You know what? I've got this big email list. I don't email my people a whole lot from my website. I have 1,000 posts, it's actually 3,000."
Yep.
So I basically went into Claude and I was like, "Hey, how do we do this? How do we keep
Yep.
this? How do we automate all this stuff?" And it basically gave me like 3 options. Anyway, so the excitement of just doing like the bare minimum
Mhm.
with AI,
Yep.
right? Like there's so much more complex things and I will be moving towards that, but like very jazzed about the ability to streamline some stuff and
Yeah.
actually using it to help you get unstuck.
Yes. I think and I said this in my talk actually, the thing that I love most about AI is that there's always a place to start. So, like,
Yeah.
getting that unstuck, it's like, "How do I X? This is my idea. What would this look like?" Right? Like, yeah, I perfect. I love it.
Yeah. And I thought, because I've written several Kindle books in the past and I had to pay someone to like translate it into the right, not translate it, but like
Yeah.
format it into the Kindle. You don't have to do that anymore.
Mm-mm.
Like,
No.
yeah. So to me, and obviously like this makes sense. Like, okay, I'm gonna transform this. But everybody has content that they've been creating in some way
Mhm.
or another.
Yep.
Like if you're creating YouTube videos, right? If you're already making videos, why are you not pulling all those transcripts and having Claude get you 90% of the way there for written content,
Yeah.
creating carousels on Instagram,
Yep.
taking it into short form scripts, like all the things.
Yep.
Content creation has never been easier.
Yep.
And I just feel like, I don't know, with with that type A mentality of like, oh, this is so beautiful and organized,
Mhm. Yeah.
like, hello.
I know. And I think well, one, if you do content, like, where you're talking a lot,
Yeah.
like, pulling transcripts and dropping it into your Claude project and being like, "This is my voice,"
Yes.
right? Like, uh, you were saying earlier, like, prompting is king, right? Like, you have to learn how to prompt, and also people get, like, concerned about tone and voice and everything else. Like, if you have a couple recordings of yourself just speaking conversationally, that goes a long way. Like, we were at New Media Summit at the end of February, and there was a company there, and forgive me, this company, their name eludes me, but they
Yes.
create
I know.
avatars, right? I can't remember. Anyways, they create
Jen something.
Gen something. Dang it, I have their card somewhere.
Yeah.
They were a super nice team. But they create AI avatars,
Mhm.
and they were like, to get a good avatar, I think they do, like, multiple package levels, but, like, all in was, like, 8 hours in their studio, whatever, but the amount of, like, you talking was not a ton to kinda,
Mm-mm.
like, nail your voice. So, like, if you've done a podcast, if you've been on a YouTube channel, if you've done I like my influencers, right? Like, if you guys have done product focused content, like,
Mhm.
any of those things is you, and that helps the AI so that it's not M dashes and Claude sounding, but it
Yes.
sounds like it can write in your voice, and like you said, you wrote it,
Yeah.
and then it's, backing it into
Well, and I think if you are type A, but you also have like that sort of creative stream of consciousness side, which I
Mhm,
do. And I actually got this idea from my son, is that he talks everything
mhm,
into AI, right? Because he's working and he works in a restaurant. So he's like able to like have a conversation while he's still doing his job because there's not a lot of like thinking involved.
Yeah.
But like I was like, so I did a little bit of that for my talk, right? I knew what I wanted to say. I knew what I want to talk about. I needed help organizing the thoughts. And like,
Mhm.
I think one of the JD Roth, our good friend from
Oh,
forever,
cool.
like we've known him forever. It's actually my very first keynote at my very first conference. Gave me some amazing writing advice years ago. And I think this works with talks, writing, videos, anything.
Mhm.
Put it out there and then cut as much as you can.
Yes.
It's like
Yep.
everyone thinks you've got it. Like this isn't college. We're not trying to hit the word count.
No.
But that was like so freeing
Mhm.
to like, and that's where I feel like for all of the people out there who hate AI, feel like it's plagiarism, all those things, I understand the sentiment.
Mhm.
However, if you take your talk and you put it in and say, "Hey, tighten it up,
Yeah.
remove the fluff," it does a really good job.
Yep.
And also you have to go through it and go, "Okay, that actually was an important point." Okay, great question. How do I push through limiting beliefs about lack of resources?
Mm, great question. I think there's, from our type A perspective, one of the ways that I've pushed through moments when I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I don't know this is for me. And I'll give the example when I started Fluencer Fruit, I felt very strongly that live office hours were going to be instrumental in building that community, right? Giving
Mhm,
people a place to ask questions, all those things. But I just, it wasn't something I had done before, right? And so I put it on my calendar and I was like and I announced it publicly. So I
mhm,
had a date that I was starting and I had public accountability. So it was like sent an email and I was like, "Hey, June 3rd, 11 a.m. Central Time, I'll be live." And then I basically told other people. So
mhm,
mine is give yourself an anchor time and stick to it and tell
mhm.
other people you're going to be there.
Yeah. I also think lack of resources. This is I say this all the time. This is the greatest time ever to be creating content
Agreed.
and building a business, whatever type of business it is, because there's so many resources
Yeah.
that are free or very close to free.
Mhm.
Um, and you and I both know story after story of people who started with, very, very few resources and basically
Mhm.
just opened up their phone and started making content or reached out to 3 people and got a contracting gig.
Mhm.
Um, I just think that like 15 years ago, it was really tough.
Yeah.
Today so much easier because there's so much opportunity and so many different platforms and different places to get discovered, network. I mean, you think about it like you can be on LinkedIn, you can be on Threads, you can be on
Yep.
X, you can be on Facebook, you can be on Instagram.
Yep.
Um, you can be on Reddit, right? We had a great talk last week
Oh, that's
about Reddit,
so good.
right?
Yep.
So I think the limiting belief thing, I mean, that's something that's tough, right? Because I
Mhm.
do feel like that's really real,
Yeah.
right? And that I do not wanna minimize that for people.
Yeah.
Um, however, who asked this? Chris Schaefer asked this last week in his talk. He said to Steve, who has a very popular podcast, has a very popular course. He is an e-commerce expert. He is like known in the field. He looked at Steve from the stage and said, "Do you think you're an e-commerce expert?"
Right.
And I was like, I'm sitting next to Steve and I'm going, "Well, he is." And Steve said, "No."
Yeah.
Right? He's literally the co-founder of an e-commerce event. I'm the other co-founder. I don't even have an e-commerce store
Mhm.
anymore, right?
Right.
Um, so to be an expert, you only have to know about 5% more than anybody else.
Exactly.
Um, you don't have to know everything because you cannot know everything in this day.
Yes.
Right? I mean, every day things change. Like every day I talk to somebody and they're like, "I'm doing XYZ with this." And I was like, "I didn't even know this was a thing."
Right.
Um, but there is something I am sure that
Mhm.
that other people can learn. And that's all you have to only be 5 to 10% better.
Yep.
Like, it this isn't here's the other problem is that like we live in a world where people that are like professional experts, like are like very like they have a very public place. Like the NFL draft just happened last week and
Yeah.
I'm watching all these kids, right, sitting on the couches crying, like life-changing, I get it. Like to be in the NFL, you have to be 1,000% better than someone
Right.
in high school,
Yes.
right? To be Brad Pitt, you have to be 1,000% better than someone in the community theater,
Right.
right? I remember seeing Hugh Jackman on Broadway and watching him and going, he is a star. Like you can't take your eyes off him on the stage, but not
Mhm.
because he's a very attractive man, which he is, but like he just has that magnetic personality,
Yep.
right? Like, and it comes through. In the rest of life, in the real world, you got to be like 5% better.
Right.
You got to know 5% more.
Yeah.
You don't have to be Hugh Jackman level. You don't have to be, NFL level. You just have to be 5% better and know 5% more because
Yep.
that 5% gap is life changing for people.
Yep.
Life changing. That 5% of the knowledge that you have
Yeah.
can be life changing for somebody.
Yep. Somebody's always a beginner too.
Yeah.
I mean, people will whatever market you think you wanna step into, there is always somebody who's like, "It's oversaturated, you'll never make it, everybody's been here forever," and it's just not true
Yeah.
because literally, like, when it comes to, like, e-commerce, let's say, and selling on Amazon, right? People are like, "It's saturated, da, 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 da." It's like, well, people have been doing this for 20 years, and people are still launching on Amazon, and still
Right.
making money, and still selling the e-commerce, and still
Yeah.
doing all these things, and it's like, just because somebody has been doing it for 20 years doesn't mean that somebody just found out that you can do it and would like to learn more about it, right? So, what was it, that quote, not the Outliers one about how many you have to be considered, like, an expert or whatever, but it's like, if you read a book a month, you have read more books than, like,
Yep.
99% of the, population or stuff like that, it's like, you just need, like, this much more information to be able to
Yeah.
give back and
Yeah.
create in a way that is helpful.
And I said this in my talk, but the biggest differentiator in my 20 years of doing this is literally one thing, and it's people that do one thing and take action.
Yep.
Like, I have met some incredibly smart people throughout the years who just don't take the first step, and they have fantastic ideas.
Mhm.
They are brilliant, and they can't get over the limiting belief.
Right.
Right? They can't take the first step because it's always easier to talk about what you wanna do than to fail at something you wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, failing at something you wanna do is so much better. I think about Spencer Jan, the guy who founded Solo Stove.
Yeah.
If you ever, I mean, I don't know, I think he's kind of a recluse right now because he sold his company for $2 billion. Um, he had no investors. Oh, his brother. He and his brother. So he's fishing somewhere. We will never hear from him again. However, he gave a talk several years ago and he basically put on the screen a slide with like, I want to say there were 15. I don't, you were, I think, in there.
I was
There were
there.
like 15 brands on the screen,
Yep.
right? And he basically said, these are all the businesses that I tried and failed at before I came up with Solo Stove.
Yep.
Right? And so I'm getting chills just like thinking about that because it's like, first of all, a $2 billion company when you're a solo, like basically solopreneur is, I mean, he had a team obviously by the time
Yeah.
he got to that point, but like he owned it.
Yes.
That's insane. Right? There's very like Native Deodorant guys, one another one like that. There's a couple people that I
Yeah.
know that are like kind of in that space. He failed at 15 companies before he got to Solo Stove.
And he tried to sell Solo Stove before this
Yes.
and was like, I can't remember who told him, but they were like, "You're not ready because your system, you don't have systems, your books are not." He failed at 15 other companies and he failed at trying to sell Solo Stove
Yeah.
before this. And
Yeah.
his outcome was to be persistent and then look at this wild success.
Yeah. And I think it's like Steve and I had a business where we for probably about a year and a half. And I wouldn't say we failed at it because we did fail because it didn't work. We didn't lose money, which to me, I would much rather fail and like just fail and not like when you lose money, then I start to get like, "Ah."
Yeah.
But I was like, okay. But it just didn't work. It didn't we had an idea. It did not work out the way we thought it was going to, and we were totally fine shutting that down and then
Yeah.
starting our course.
Yep.
And we learned a lot and that's the thing. I learned a ton. We
Mhm.
actually built a couple tools in the process that we continue to use for a while.
Yep.
And there's always something that comes out of a failure.
Yep.
And that's the other thing. It's like, do we want to fail? No. Do we want you to fail? Absolutely not. Like we're the biggest cheerleaders. We want everybody to succeed because there's room for everybody to succeed.
Absolutely.
But like there's a lot of lessons in not succeeding and failing that
Mhm.
are, I think, like underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated. But yeah, so I think limiting beliefs are real and they're tough, but just know that you are 5% smarter in that subject than most people,
Yep.
and you gotta push through.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I would like to add is, don't take advice or criticism from people who haven't been where you wanna go. Like, I heard that one recently, and I was like, "That's
Mhm.
so good," right? Like, make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are regardless of whether they are where you wanna be, like, that they're go-getters, they're not people who are, like, dragging you back and keeping you stagnant, because that is usually just a sign of people who don't have the courage to do what you are doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
alright, guys, well, thank you for joining us live. You can watch the replay as well. It will be up
Yep.
on YouTube,